There are a lot of self-sabotage patterns that exist because you're a human being, I'm a human being. As human beings, there are patterns and traps we will fall into, and there's a bunch of them that have been documented. I'm gonna focus on 7 ways that you and I constantly self-sabotage ourselves. All right, so the first documented pattern of self-sabotage I wanna talk about is overworking and under-recovering, not realizing that the overworking is doing more harm than good. So this applies to so many people in the trades and contracting. I think it applies to just business owners in general. One of the things that we do at our company when someone starts working here, and something we do with all of our partners, is we start by designing their schedule and their life so that their work works around their life as opposed to their life fitting around their work. There is always going to be more work to do, and if you don't set boundaries on your work, it will swell to consume your life. And what we found, I found in my personal experience, I find it with my teams, my partners, and all the Painting Business Pro people we coach, when people prioritize their personal life, their health, their sleep, their time with friends, their time with family, and don't allow work to bleed into all of that, their performance improves. And there's this illusion we all live in, partly because society feeds it to us, that like, I should work harder to produce more. In fact, the Flow Research Collective does a lot of research on peak performance, and one of the things they have found is that the ideal work week for most people is 35 hours a week. If you really perform at your peak, then you're going to exhaust yourself and you need the time for recovery. You can also look at professional athletes. They prioritize recovery. If you want to perform at your best, you have to prioritize recovery. And there is a point in the day when you have worked yourself so much that you are exhausted, you're making bad decisions, you're not as productive, and it isn't serving you. And so you gotta catch yourself and figure out what's a better way to get to my goals in life, because overworking yourself is not the best way to do it. You've got to find another way and start to put boundaries on your work. The second pattern of self-sabotage is self-limiting beliefs. We've heard a lot about this. Self-limiting beliefs has almost become a platitude because so many people say it and so many people talk about it. So all of us have self-limiting beliefs. It's simply a belief we have that limits us. How does it do that? Well, if I don't believe something is possible, I don't act on it. And if you just look, you never act on what you don't see possible, because why would you? It's not possible. And so we all have these ideas of this is what's possible and this is what's not. Now, some people see much bigger possibilities, some smaller. It doesn't matter, but all of us have some line in the sand that says what's on this side is possible, what's on that side is not possible. And I see this in a huge way in the painting business in particular, with so many people who are certain that you can't make that profit margin, you can't sell that. This company is that way, that marketing avenue does this. And I've just made so many declarations that make it impossible to ever build a business. You can't trust people. I have to do it all myself. You can't find any good labor out there. The economy is going to take a dump on us. Customers just want the lowest price. All of these are not truths. They are beliefs. And what are the beliefs that you have that cut off possibilities for you that you now, because they're not possible, you don't act on, and because you don't act on them, they will never happen? It is self-fulfilling. And if you are not constantly identifying your beliefs and questioning your beliefs, then you are leaving a huge opportunity on the table. The third is impatience and dismissal of exponential gains. All right, so business is an exponential game if you play it right. But our brains have a linearity bias. So what that means is we believe that things will happen in a linear, straight line fashion. But business doesn't work that way. Business is exponential. And no matter how much we think we can understand exponentials, our brain just does not work that way, and it will constantly pull for linear thinking. Now, let me tell you why that's a problem in business. In business, because of linear thinking, we think that if we grow double this year, we'll grow double the next year, we'll grow double the next year. Or if I grow by 100, then I grow by 100, then I grow by 100. It's linear and it's straight line thinking. So often what happens is people expect that they will be further along 3 years into their journey than they are. But because it's an exponential curve, we aren't as far along as we think. And we extrapolate that exponential curve out into the future and say, wow, this is not going to turn out as well as we thought. So we don't have the patience to stick with things for long enough to start to realize the exponential gains that happen in the future when we stick with things long enough for all of our efforts to compound. I noticed that this plays a role with how impatient people are, how frustrated people get with early results. And when people are impatient and frustrated with early results, they try to force the results to happen rather than slowing down and just continuing to build their business the right way. And when we try to force the growth, when the business is not ready to grow, we end up undermining the business itself, which then sets us back. It's like we try to take shortcuts, but the shortcuts don't work, and actually the shortcuts set us back from enjoying the fruits of the exponential curve. Great things don't happen in the first year, great things don't happen in 3 years. Go look at the graphs of the huge companies, the Ubers, the Airbnbs. I remember seeing a graph of Airbnb, 5 years in, they were literally nothing. All of a sudden, in year 7, they went nuclear. They just blew up, they got huge, and it happened all of a sudden, and that's how it happens. But when we're getting below what we expected in those early years, and it's like, man, the struggle is more than we thought, it's taking longer than we thought, this is harder than we thought, we quit. Or we try to force the result to happen, which is another word for shortcut, which undermines success. All right, number 4, failure to remember that success is just your default day. So if you just think about your default day, you have some days that are better, some days are worse, but you have an average default day. Take that day and then string together 1,000 of those days in a row, and that's what your success looks like, right? So most people don't think of it that way, because if you thought of it that way, which makes perfect sense, right? Success is just your default day strung together day after day after day after day after day. What does that person produce over time? That's success. But what are you doing to improve your default day? What are you doing to improve your performance? What are you doing to improve where you spend your time, where you don't spend your time, the actions you're taking that are effective or not effective? Again, over and over and over, I see that people are massively under-investing on themselves. They're massively under-investing on getting better at the work they do, at getting better at their skill sets, at improving their default day. Now, if all you did was improve my default day, and you just did that every week or every month for a year or 2 years or 3 years, all of a sudden your default day becomes really good. And now, extend that default day out for another 3 years. Like, that is what leads to success. If you're not changing what your default day is, why would you expect your future results to change? All right, next one for painting contractors is a big one that I see, and probably all people, is seeking safety and familiarity. What that means is we like to do what we've always done. We don't want to step into the unknown. We don't want to be uncomfortable. But the reality is that the results you have in business are a perfect match for your actions in your business. It's always a perfect match. So if you want your results to get a little better, then you need to change a little bit. But we don't like to change. If you want your results to be unrecognizable, you're going to have to change significantly. And to change significantly means I'm gonna have to change beliefs. If I'm used to always being on site, I'm gonna have to learn how to let go of that control. So if I want big results in my business, I need to be willing to change. And by the way, when you do make those changes, you're gonna need to have to change again and again and again. I've had to change again and again. The moment you stop being willing to change is the moment that your business is not gonna change as much. You have to change, because if you don't change, the results won't change. But most of us like safety and we like the familiar, and that is what actually keeps us stuck. So you've got to start to develop this pattern of, hey, it's okay to be uncomfortable. I remember when I had a golf lesson, and the very first 5 minutes I was there, he watched me take one swing, and then he's like, all right, change your hands. And he moved my hand over, and it was so damn uncomfortable. It just felt so weird. And I got up there and I swung the club, feeling really weird and uncomfortable, and it went 20 yards longer and straight. And it wasn't going straight before. And I know that if my golf game is off, then the fix will feel uncomfortable. If the results aren't what I want, then the fix will probably feel uncomfortable. And the bigger the change I want, the more uncomfortable the fix is gonna feel. So you've got to start to learn to embrace that and to seek that out. If I want big changes in my life, I need to start to seek out where I'm wrong, what views and beliefs I'm gonna give up. I gotta seek out the uncomfortable. So the next up is requiring new or novel information to act. So novelty just means it's new, original, it's exciting, it's unique. Another way to look at this is like shiny, flashy shit. That's mostly what people look for. But you know what works is the boring, basic fundamentals. In fact, I see this all the time in my company, and I saw it a lot with my marketing department, is they want to do the shiny, new, sexy stuff, but they would miss the really core fundamentals. And I don't have a marketing department anymore. This was part of the problem, is they were looking constantly for new, novel, sexy, trendy, and they were missing some of the most fundamental, most important things with marketing. And this is what I see so many people doing. It's what takes our attention from us. Like, you see that fancy Facebook ad, you see that cool new product, you see that new marketing gimmick, you see that new thing, like thinking there's gonna be some shiny, new, flashy thing that's gonna get you success, when the only thing that's gonna get you what you want is the boring stuff. I literally just gotta practice sales until I'm sick of practicing sales. I literally just gotta study this same video over and over. My most successful Painting Business Pro members, the ones that are doing multiple millions per year, every single time when I ask them, what advice do you have for everyone else? They say, watch the course videos more. So how many times did you watch them? I've probably watched every video in there 10 times. If you come look and watch how I operate, not all the time because I'm not perfect either, but I find the things that work and I spend a lot of time mastering them. One of the things that we do is a leadership development series. I've done a boatload of personal development and leadership development on myself. A lot of that stuff, you don't master it with one go. We revisit things over and over. I remember a feedback forum, someone said, well, I thought the event was good, but I've heard a lot of this before. Like, yeah, but you haven't mastered it. That's pointing to the requiring novel information to act. If it's not novel and new, I want more. People want new rather than depth, but depth beats breadth. Basics and fundamentals beats shiny and new. The fundamental principles in business that yield the greatest results don't really change. All right, so you just want to see, where am I avoiding the boring, proven stuff and looking for novelty? The last one I want to bring up is making success wrong. So I wanted to bring this one up because I see it in our industry quite a bit, where, and it's probably not with the people who are actually listening to this video. The people who actually listen to this and are looking for advice probably aren't these people, but I'll point it out because you probably see it in this industry, where the successful people get shit on by haters because the haters say, well, you're just taking advantage of people. You just don't do the real work. You're just a paper contractor. You're blah, blah, blah. That's what making success wrong means. And I can tell you that the people who are saying that are not building a thriving business. You're just not. If you start to make success wrong, you guard yourself from success. All right, and you can see that maybe you see it in your life, maybe you see it with others, but you do want to see where you have some version of that. It's going to be not as obvious to you. And so every one of these patterns of self-sabotage we went through, I can find examples of them for myself. Self-sabotage is real. There's value in looking at that newly to see, where does this actually apply for me? Because when I can find where these patterns of self-sabotage apply for me, I can see it and I can no longer follow that course of action, and now my performance has elevated. All right, so that's the value in this video. I hope this gave you some insight into yourself, into others. By the way, this is really valuable information to have with your team. I point these things out to my team often, right? Because one of your jobs as a coach and leader is to help your team perform better. And to see where they are stabbing themselves in the back, they are self-sabotaging, is incredibly valuable for coaching and leading and helping them perform better. And by the way, when your team performs better, your business performs better, and you make a lot more money. So that's all I've got for you in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one.